Good day to everyone. We are your Toastmasters Yashvardhan Sharma and Simmi ma'am.
Hello everyone.
And we are back with episode 4 of Blazing Hour with Alumni. Let's reconnect. I am excited to introduce you to our very accomplished guest for today. Please welcome Devansh Kaushik, everyone.
Hello everyone.
He is a really versatile individual. He scored and he achieved All India Rank 1 in All India Law Entrance Test 2018 and All India Rank 2 in Common Law Admission Test 2018. He also won Thomas Cook Travel Quest and also the Bourn Vita Quiz Contest at a very young age. He recently stood as the runner-up in cross-examination moot 2021 that was hosted by the Paris University of Political Studies Sciences Po. He's an individual so versatile and intellectually robust that the list of his achievements goes on and on. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that you are a jack of all trades and a master of all. So my first question to you is, what do you think is the relationship to become successful and smart?
That's direct. I'd like to answer it in simple terms. I would say, obviously, there's a relationship of causation here. Both these things to go together. You can't be one of the two. Doesn't matter whatever field or area we're talking about. Like, let's just look at what these words mean, right? So success is relative and subjective. Like it can differ from person to person. What do you want in life? Do you want wealth, fame, social status, or like achievements, etc.? But like in any case, you have to be smart, right? By smart, I don't mean you just need to have a high IQ or some innate intelligence. That's not how I think the word smart should be interpreted as or what it means. I think smart is basically to be focused, to be disciplined, to know how to plan, to know how to identify your goals and to know how to achieve them. Only then can you be successful in any field of your choosing. So yeah, I would say there's a relationship of causation here.
So that was a really on-point answer. I also believe that success is something that is individualistic, right? And your answer was fabulous. Thank you.
Hi Devansh, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm great to meet you again.
Yeah, good to see you after a long time. Devansh, how do you think your childhood influenced your academics and your career choices?
In many, many ways, I would say. Like if I were to trace where I am right now to the earliest point I can think of, like it would be things as simple as the choice of my school, the books that I read, and what I did in school. Like I can literally trace it back to how I started reading, how my English improved, how I got an interest in history. That then translated to quizzing translated to general knowledge translated to CLAT, law, policy, and here I am. So it's an entire nice chain of events, and it was a great journey.
Yeah, I can recollect that you reading books in the library. You are fond of reading, so I still remember that. Devansh, being intellectually better than many, did you ever felt left out socially?
Well, I would disagree with the premise of the question. I don't think anyone can say that he's intellectually better than everyone else. Like this is a world of 7 billion people. But to address the spirit of the question, yeah, to be honest, true. I am a slightly introverted by nature, and sometimes, yeah, like because there's a simple difference of interest, right? Like what interests me is not necessarily everyone else would be interested in. And like that was general. I was most predisposed towards academics, and even I was more interested in humanities and social sciences. That was not really common, at least during my time in school. But like I think there's a quote which would be appropriate here, that if you ever feel that you are the smartest person in a room, then you are in the wrong room. You need to find a circle of your peers who are better than you, who have similar interests, who are similarly motivated. That's that's exactly what I would say everyone needs to do. You need to find people better than you to learn from. Even right now in my circle, I have a bunch of friends who I know are better than me in many respects. I have a friend who's much more disciplined than I am. I have a friend who's much better informed in technology. I have a friend who's a better orator. I have a friend who's more driven. And being in circles like these, it helps because you have people to learn from, you have people to emulate, and these people remind you that how you can improve yourself. So I would say, yeah, even whenever, if that happens for anyone, find a better circle, find people to learn from.
No, I still remember you're so grounded and You always made people comfort around you. Like, I know you better.
This next one, that what books or people have influenced you the most in life? You know, like how you were saying that the books have been an important part of your childhood. So,
Right. So books, I would say the entire Amar Chitrakeeta collection. Like I understand they are not books in the traditional sense. They are more close to, let's say, illustrated comics. But the impact that they had on me personally, I would say, was tremendous. They were amongst the first books that I ever read. Like I think it helped in developing a love for reading. It was my first exposure to history, mythology, and the social sciences. And again, like the entire chain of events that I pointed out earlier, that went on to reading novels, quizzing, history, CLAT, law. So I think those are the books that influence you most in life. In terms of people, I would say this is also true, I think, for most of us. Parents, obviously. What I am today in terms of my values, ethics, motivations, and beliefs, it's all what I've learned from my own parents. And yeah, that would be my answer.
okay, right, like reading books, like if that books convey you a sense of history with a comical sense, then I think that is amazing. And if that is what started it all, like that's what started your journey, then I think that's worth giving a read to.
Definitely.
Devansh, it's a well-known fact that you won Thomas Cook Travel Quest competition and visited France, being at a very young age. How did you feel achieving such something at a global level?
It was a national competition though, but yeah, at that time, I think I was in class 9th. It was significant for me personally too, because obviously it was first of all the chance to go abroad. That exposed me for the first time to a foreign culture, a foreign society, a foreign land, history, everything. Traveling does help expand your perspective. But in terms of the achievement itself, I think it was a very important motivating factor, because like once you reach a certain, let's say, standard, then there's no going back, right? Once you know that, okay, I can achieve something at the national level, then anything less than that will not satisfy you. Okay, and I think that's the way it should be. Goals should be incremental. You should always be seeking to better any of your achievements. You should always seek to keep improving yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree to you. And I saw that excitement and that happiness on your face when you won the trophy. I was with you, so I still remember that day. It was really great. Yes.
That it was.
The next question would be that what are your thoughts on fate and free will in life?
This is a question of philosophy, I would say.
Yes.
But okay, as a matter of choice, I believe in free will, because I think that's the most practical choice in my opinion, because that puts the onus on you as an individual. Like you can just think that, yeah, whatever I deserve in this world or whatever I'm going to get is preordained by some higher power. But then what does that mean? Like, can you just sit in a corner and do nothing? I don't think so. That's not how it works. Like, yeah, I would say, like, even in my life, there have been several turning points, coincidences, or were they just coincidences? You never know. But no, I would say we are what we do, and free will is the way to go. And that's how it should be.
Well, yes, certainly. I also consider objectively being free will as the correct one, because, if you just think of fate and let fate drive you, then you won't put any effort. Whereas if you think free will, then you will be willing to change your future by your actions, and that is much better and productive, right?
Yeah, I would just add something here. So,
right,
my opinion on this was developed during quizzing. So I'm sorry, I'm bringing it up again and again.
No.
The reason it mattered, right? But like there was some of my friends often used to tell me that, listen, like GK is infinite. You can go to a quiz and like you can never tell what they are going to quiz you on. Then like, what's the entire point of studying anything? But no, like my approach to that would be like, fine, if you go along with that, you'll never learn anything. Then are you just going to show up every time and just hope that your luck pans out and they ask you something that you know? That wouldn't work out. So my approach to that was like, God, what I chose to believe and what I still choose to believe is like, God helps those who help themselves. If there is something like fate, if God is going to land you somewhere, then He's only going to do it if you're worthy of it, if you're deserving of it, if you work that much for it. That's what I believe.
Well, that's a really interesting perspective, and it attracts me really. And I think I will keep that in mind from now. Yes.
Yeah.
Devansh, is there anything you're most curious about?
Yeah, so yeah, particularly in college, I would say after I've started college and all, what I've been most curious about nowadays is the intersection between law and technology. Like even law is a vast field, but what interests me, what I believe, like the technology law as we call it, this interface is the frontier of this field. That basically when new technologies are coming up, and even more so in the present age, crypto, artificial intelligence, NFTs, the law literally before our eyes, we see it growing and evolving to regulate these technologies, to make sure societal interest is protected, to make sure people's rights are protected. That is something I find very interesting and I'm very curious about it.
Yeah, it's all interconnected. Everything is interconnected and we learn from a lot.
So the next question would be, what is something in you that you would want not to change at all, no matter what happens?
I would say my curiosity, like the drive to know, right? I would never want to be basically like lose any interest in what's going around me and just sit. I like to question myself. I like to question things around me. What is this? Why is this? How does it work? I keep posing these questions to myself, finding answers to them. That's how I think that's the one thing which keeps me moving forwards. That's what that keeps life interesting. And that is something I would like to keep, the drive to learn.
Well, if the hunger for knowledge in you is like consistent, you keep asking, then I think that's amazing. Like that keeps you working and productive, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Devansh, what is an issue in the world which you are generally concerned about? The world is facing a lot today. So any particular issue which you are really concerned about?
I would say what worries me the most, I think, is the state of the environment today. Like, I understand, like, this is very cliche, but this is something that keeps popping to me whenever I literally step outside of my room. So, modern lifestyle, I believe, has become too much consumeristic and unsustainable. Like, we are living in a world of finite resources, but we are far too wasteful with these resources to the detriment of ourselves and our future generations. Like, this is at every level, whether it be governmental or individual. People still waste water left, right, center. People still use plastics when they can use paper, cloth, etc. They are not reusing, they are not recycling, they are not cognizant of the cost of things and how precious they are. And that's the sad part. Like, a lot of environmental issues can only be resolved, in fact, at the individual level, but we do not see that much awareness or initiative from the people, and that's a little sad. But yeah, that's what I think, something that should be done.
Yeah, seriously, it's a matter of concern. We have to think that what we give to nature, nature is going to give back to us. So it is a matter of serious concern and we should take it seriously, and awareness should be spread, obviously. Yes, Devansh, considering your lawful background, if you could draft a rule or edit an existing law, what could it be and why?
That's okay. If you ever ask a lawyer that question, he can give you a list of 100 laws or something. But yeah, okay. I would say one thing that's close to my heart personally, I would like there to be a law or a rule on fiscal responsibility. Like, just to rephrase it, right, as a right of the people to question and challenge certain types of government expenditure. Like, just to give you context here, like recently I read in the news that like the Rajasthan government apparently gifted each of its MLAs an iPhone 13. 85,000 phone costs around 2 crore. And so exactly, that's my question, right? Like, why is there not a rule or a law which allows you to question such expenditure? And it's everywhere. Governments are building giant statues out in the middle of the ocean. Like, they're lining public roads with flowers whenever any dignitary is visiting. Where is that money coming from? Like, why are you telling me though that money which was spent in Rajasthan could not have been used to get cheaper devices for a lot of underprivileged students? Instead of building a statue, don't you think we need to build a school or a hospital? Is that, like, in Western democracy, you would notice that in more developed democracy, there's the entire concept of taxpayers' money. There's nothing called government's money. It's all taxpayers' money, and you see that the public discourse there is far more mature. That the leaders there are accountable for every penny that they spend, and that's something I think is missing in India. Like, it's either the nature of our multi-party democracy, or this is something across the political spectrum that fiscal responsibility, fiscal expenditure is never questioned. Like, governments run on schemes and incentives, but they are never accountable for how whether the money they're spending, whether that's the best use of that money, whether it's a waste, whether it was warranted. And I think having a law along those lines would help improve our public discourse a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree to you. This is very essential that it should be checked so as to bring, balance in our society, and the common people can also have some privilege, or they can also enjoy the rights. So it is very important.
So if you could have an hour-long conversation with anyone who has like ever lived or is alive, so who would it be, and what would you want to talk about with him or her?
Okay, that's a tough question. Actually, I would not choose any historical or famous figure. Like, those figures are already there in either if they are still alive, they are there in the media reports. If they are dead, they are in the history. We already know a lot about famous figures. Like, there are archives, there are biographies. You can always discern their intentions, their thoughts from their actions. Like, in my life, the most interesting conversations I ever had were with complete strangers. That's just me. Because like, even in history, we call this subaltern studies. Like, what is the ordinary guy thinking? That's something like that's never recorded. Like, for example, right on Ukraine, we know what the president is doing and thinking, but do we know what an average Ukrainian is thinking at this point, and what is he doing? We know what Nehru thought about Indian independence, but do we know what a normal foot soldier, a normal Congress party worker during 1947 thought about India, why India should be independent? What was his thoughts? So the conversations I would like to have would be with an ordinary person and a complete stranger, to know about his perspective. That's what I would value.
But won't that be like a gamble, because you won't know what their opinions might be, and that might be clashing or something completely different. So what do you want to say about that?
That's completely fine. I have, again, like, just to go back to my the conversation. I've had conversations with people with completely different motivations, ideologies, etc. But yeah, there's no clash per se. Even if you do not agree with them, you should at least know what they're thinking, right? That's the entire thing. Like, that's what, again, just to reiterate, the normal person's perspective, I think, is never recorded, but it's the most valuable. And that's literally how you measure public opinion, right?
Okay, well, that was a extremely unexpected response. I thought you would like mention a singular personality who probably would be famous, but yeah, that is interesting to know a normal, ordinary person's perspective. Yeah, that is something I did not expect. So that would be it from me and Simbi ma'am. Now we have some Cambridgians who are willing to ask you some questions as well. So first up, we have Niharika Vaishnav.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, Haruka. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. So I have been a Cambridgian since I was like a baby. Like, I have practically grown up here in the school. And as you might already know, our teachers here continuously motivate us to, test our limits and just go for it whenever we feel like it. And I cannot recall a single time when they talked about success and Devansh Kaushik wasn't mentioned. And I mean, oh my God, that is so impeccable. According to me, that is so commendable. That's such a great achievement. But apart from all that, apart from what other people have to say about you, apart from what your friends and family have to say about you, what do you think is your greatest achievement? Like, what would you consider to be your very own success story?
Okay, my modest success story, if you can call it that, is like, it's out there in the public record. Like, fine, I did quiz. I was reasonably good in academics in school, did quizzing, cleared CLAT, worked hard for it for a year. Now I'm in NLS. I'm doing well in academics and extracurriculars here. That's my story per se. Like, what is my greatest achievement? Like, you can say the significant one was that obviously how I chose my field, ended up in law, ended up in the college CLAT. But I generally do not agree with calling any of my achievements greatest. Like, after every goal per se, I'm always off to like, what's next? Like, the entire point of calling something your greatest achievement would be to admit, okay, like, this has been the high point. No, like, you can always do better. It's increment. I'm hoping I do a lot of other things. So yeah, let's see. Consistent growth, I would say, is the greatest achievement which is possible for anyone.
Wow, that's such a humble approach to something, and that's such a very wide spectrum that you're looking at, and I'm definitely taking away from that. Thank you so much. It was so great talking to you.
Same.
Thank you, Niharika, for your question. For the next one, we have Pranam. So,
Namaskar, I'm Pranam Goel from Cambridge Court. So my question to you was, do you prefer intuition over intellect or the other way around?
Right. Okay, so I'm guessing by intuition you mean gut feelings, etc. So on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would always take my brain's intellect anytime over gut feelings. I like certainty in my life. I do not like guesswork if I can avoid it. Like whether any kind of decision, or whether it be big or small, I like to rely on my logic, my reason, asking others, my own experiences. So I would take intellect over intuition any day. Intuition has its uses, but that should be a last resort.
Thank you, Bhaiya. As me being an intuitive person, so I was interested to know your viewpoint.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Pranam. For the last question, we have Pehel with her questions. So Pehel.
Good afternoon, Bhaiya. How are you?
I'm fine, Pahel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. My question to you is, overviewing your journey in academics and all your achievements, many students want to follow your footprints. Can you give us some guidance which we can consider as our mantra?
Yeah. I follow a bunch of these quotes pages on Instagram and all, but I don't think that even summarize it in a single quote. But I would say in two short words would be smart work. Like just work and do it smartly. Identify what you want in life, identify your goals, plan your steps, how to reach there, have some good habits, be disciplined, read as much as you can. And I would say always keep trying to move beyond your comfort zone. Like again, consistent growth is the best achievement you can ever hope for in whatever you want to do in life. Always after 1 year, you should be better than you were the previous year. Every day you should try to learn something new and keep improving yourself.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya. That was really inspiring. And of course, it's too efficient for all of us. Thank you.
Well, that was it for the interview. Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for taking time out of your day and joining us today, right? And it was so mentally refreshing for each and every one of us. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure each and every one of the viewer will as well. And thank you everyone for watching this. We'll soon be back with another episode. Stay tuned, and until then, keep smiling and stay blessed.